This is Entrepreneurs Get Visible, the podcast for people who want more impact, influence, and income. I'm Anna Parker-Naples, and I'll be sharing with you proven methods from leading entrepreneurs that help you get visible as an authority in your field. Because anything's possible when you get visible. In this episode, we'll be talking about everything you need to create to have a solid, useful book proposal. First, though, I want to discuss why you might want to write a book proposal even if you're planning to self-publish, rather than sending to a traditional publisher to get you noticed and get your work out there. So first of all, in writing out a book proposal for yourself, you are getting so clear. You're getting clarity on your message. You're getting clarity on the shape of your book. And once you have that, writing the book becomes so much freer because you are working within some strict boundaries and strict guidelines for yourself. So instead of going off at tangents, which can be interesting for your audience, you're super clear on the results that you are getting. And I think for positioning yourself as an expert, that's really key. The second reason that you might want to write a book proposal is if you are planning to send your book at any point to a traditional publisher, whether you have written the book in the first place or whether you are making that initial approach before you get going with your book. They are going to have a much greater understanding about you, about the market, about the publicity plan, about who you are, what your audience is like, and how they are going to be able to bring that book into their field, into their world, so that it works for them, for you, and the potential audience. So let's break this down. What do you need to have right at the start of your book proposal? Well, first of all, it would start with that blank page that only has on it who you are, the author's name, and the title of the book. That's pretty much it as a blank cover page. The next thing you would have on there is the fact that you are summarising your book in an overview. So this would focus on what your book offers to the reader and what your audience is going to be drawn towards. Why does your book matter? What need are you meeting? And what are going to be the highlights of your book? What are the reasons that people are going to be compelled to pick it up? How are they going to know it's for them? The next thing after that overview is a little bit about the author, about you. So you want to include approximately a page about your life, your experience, but with particular focus on the professional experiences that you have that are related to the topic you're writing about. What makes you the credible person to be the authority, to be the author of this book? And I would recommend writing that bio, writing a brief bio about yourself in the third person. That tends to be an industry standard. The next thing then after the about the author section is about the market. And this is key. You have to be able to describe your audience within your book proposal. And this is going to help you in writing. Who are the likely readers of your book? How old are they? What do they like to buy? And how reachable are they? Is it easy for you as a writer, as a person of influence, to reach these people? Can your book appeal to multiple demographics? And in many instances, the answer is yes. However, a book that is answering a particular niche area's needs is probably going to be more appealing to a traditional publisher. And actually, when you're self-publishing, that's going to help get your message out there because people are going to understand from the book title, from the brief description, whether it is for them or not. And although you might be tempted to say your book is for everyone, it's very common to think that when you know you want to get your message out and affect as much change as you can. But if you're trying to serve everyone, it ends up not speaking to anyone in particular. So when you know this about your market, it's going to inform every single chapter that you put out there. The next part of your book proposal is the author's promotion and publicity plan. And this is worth thinking about for yourself, even if you aren't going with a traditional publisher. Describe the size of your platform, include information about your website, your mailing list, maybe speaking engagements that you've done. Perhaps there's blogs that you've written for or you've guest blogged for or anything else that might be helpful. For example, if you have a podcast or if you've won any awards, tell them about that. Tell them about how people are listening to you and why they're listening to you. And be really specific. So make sure that you are including all of your handles to your social media platforms, that you're including your website and the exact numbers of your followers, the amount on social media on each of the platforms, the amount that are in your email list, the number of comments you get, the number of shares you get from articles that maybe you write on LinkedIn or blogs that you put out into your industry. And if you've ever published or self-published a book before, include the sales figures and the stats for that as well, so that as soon as a publisher reads this, they're going to know what it's all about. If you are fortunate enough to have a notable person willing to write that forward or that endorsement for your book and for you, in order to help you promote the book, make sure you give details about them and the size of their platforms as well, so that you are much more appealing to that publisher. And I think this work, even if you aren't going for a traditional publisher, if you're going to self-publish, having an understanding of that market is going to help you anyway. A really crucial part of writing your book is to do some competitor analysis. So this is about finding similar book titles and explaining why yours is different, why the readers will want to pick up your book on the shelf when they see it and not that other book. And for each entry, you want to make sure you list the title, the subtitle, the author, the publisher, the year of publication. You want to include the price, the format, so whether it's paperback or audio, and the ISBN, because that is going to give the publishers a much greater understanding of how to position your book, who it's going to be next to on the shelves, and what they can do to position you as different, even though you are almost the same as. It's not wise to claim that there are no titles that can compare with your book, because that's not going to help them sell you. They have to understand where it's going to fit. So do your research properly here. And when you find other titles that are really selling, it's worth noting what they are. What is it that draws you in that particular area? Why do you feel compelled to read that book over something else? Then you're going to have a book table of contents. So you want to include all the sections and the chapter titles that you intend to include, and include whatever's going to be in the front and the back of the book as well, including forwards and introductions, whether you're going to need a glossary or an appendices. And of course, not every book has all of those things, but if they are likely to be in your book, make sure you include them in that book table of contents. The next thing then is about chapter summaries. And this is where you're going to give a rough outline of your book, chapter by chapter. You're going to list each chapter title and each section of the book that you're going to write, and then give a 1 or 2 paragraph description of what's going to be in that section, in that chapter. Now, then you're going to include sample chapters, and ideally these would in total be 3,000 to 5,000 words long, so that they can see a little bit of your writing style. So ideally this would be 1 or 2 chapters in total, up to 5,000 words. And if you're including things like quizzes or exercises or recipes or anything like that, you need to give a sample so that the publisher gets a flavour of what you're putting out there. And that's it. Once you have done that work, and believe me, once you have spent time really crafting the outline of your book and written a couple of those chapters, your book is going to be so much easier to write. There is real freedom within the constraints of a structure. So I would definitely consider sitting out, planning out what's going into your book and how you can really sell it to a traditional publisher, and doing this exercise even if you plan to self-publish, because it's going to just mean that when you write that book, you know who you're writing it for and you know how you're going to sell it, because none of us want books out there that don't make a difference. So to recap then, in your book proposal, you are going to have an overview where you summarise your book. You're going to have an about the author section, including a bio of you written in the third person. You're going to give a detailed description about the market, about who your book is for and why they would want to buy it from you. You're going to create a section that is about authors' promotion and publicity plan, followed by competitive analysis, looking at other authors within your space so that you understand which shelves you're going to be positioned on within a bookstore and online. You're going to have a book table of contents, followed by detailed chapter summaries with the correct headings for those titles and a brief description of what goes where. And finally, have your solid sample chapters of 1 or 2 sample chapters that indicate your style of writing and what you have to offer. So I hope this helps you have loads of ideas about how to get started writing your book proposal so that you can then create that book that makes you stand out as an author in your field so you can get yourself even more visible. Thank you for listening to Entrepreneurs Get Visible. To get your free checklist on how to raise your profile and to find out about our community, go to annaparkernaples.co.uk/get visible.